Today's agenda got the suitcase up in the Centra. Go to room 112. Tell him Anthony sent you.
Next time, give it loud for everybody for Anthony Eugenio. We're gonna have next time. Very funny. Wayne Russell, everybody.
Welcome to the Open Mic Pain with Anthony and Wayne podcast.
Why, hello everybody, and welcome to my kitchen, because I don't have any fucking power. But we're also going to do an episode of Open Mic Pain here, because the train doesn't stop. But what we do have is a special guest episode, and not only is it a special guest episode, but it is going to be featuring our 1 year discussion, meaning we've been in the comedy scene for about a year. And we suck less now. So we want to talk about, what degree of suck that we have. And who else could we bring in but the literal most beautiful angel human being I've ever seen? That is Beautiful Dan Cronin. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well, guys. Good to see you again.
That's good to see you too, man. And with every beautiful person comes their antithesis, the Antichrist to the Jesus Christ. And that is my co-host in crime, Gross Wayne Russell. How you doing, buddy?
I was doing really well until prior to Dan getting on, where all of my hopes and dreams got shattered. But I'm here, so I'm good. I'm good. I'm here with Dan. I'm happy.
Yeah, no, it's always good to be around. Like when you're in high school, the beautiful girl will keep a gross pig next to them. Okay, hold on. In order to look better, she'll keep a gross, disgusting pig next to her in order so that the guys are like, wow, that is just in comparison. So
Thanks, Wayne.
I know my place.
Ugh.
I'm here.
Yeah, the fucking side bitch slam pig, Wayne Russell. All right, Wayne, you're 1 year in, buddy. How you doing?
Well, before we get started, Dan, I came up with a wonderful intro for you, and Anthony wouldn't let me do it. So I want to know what you think. I was going to introduce you this way. I was going to, do the intro and say, today we are armed and dangerous. Ain't too many can bang with us, but one that can, our beautiful Dan. Straight up weed, no angel dust. Dan Cronin, how you doing, son?
Label us Notoria.
Dude, would you have been more thrilled with that?
I always appreciate the effort, Wayne. I thought I sounded...
I'm all about effort.
I thought I sounded the whitest when I did it, but, again, we keep you around for a reason.
Oh, man, imagine after you laid down with a lady in bed, and afterwards you're like, was that good? Did you enjoy yourself? She's like, I do really respect the enthusiasm that you have.
You know how much enthusiasm...
Appreciate it. All kidding aside, Wayne. Yeah, it's, because it comes from the right place.
Yeah, it's stupid.
I honestly, I was walking my dog looking up Biggie lyrics. So like, what can I turn into an intro for Dan? Because I think he would really love that.
He doesn't learn. We let Wayne do the intro like one every 10 episodes, and it just is fucking a ship in the middle of the night smashing into a bridge and killing 17 people. That is exactly.
It was only 7.
7? You kill an extra 10.
Today's agenda got the suitcase up in the Centra. Go to room 112. Tell him Anthony sent you.
Come on. Yeah, see, Wayne had the cadence of like a seal falling off the side of a boat into a shark's mouth, and you had perfect rap cadence there. Like you had the cadence of when Eminem was writing down his lyrics in his book on the bus there, and he was like, na 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 na. And then he goes and he wins the fucking rap battle. That's what you need.
And I was like writing it down on the bus going over speed bumps.
No, you were like Cheddar Bob and you shot your dick off.
Whatever, I fucking tried. I tried.
Hey, it took us a year, but we got here.
We got here.
We're here.
Got here.
So we're talking a little bit before that. And so Anthony and I both hit our 1 year, middle of March. Dan, you're at about a year and a quarter of stand-up. What do you think you've learned in a year and a half?
I mean, something I've been doing recently is been going back and listening to. So I go once a week. That's pretty much still, Strange Brew is pretty much where I go once a week. So as part of that, I've been going back to this week last year and listening. And what I've learned is like 4 months in a year ago, I thought, all right, you're picking up some steam here. You're figuring it out a little bit. I was not. It's horrific. It's some of the jokes I still tell, but it's just I'll explain it to people where I go. I used to take 2.5 minutes to tell a 90-second joke, and there's just so again you learn. I think one of the things I've learned is to become more comfortable up there because again you realize the worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to bomb and you're going to look foolish for 5 minutes, and you're better off kind of letting it all hang out than being apprehensive about it. So that's one of the bigger things to go. Just get to the joke, and it's not every joke needs a story or a lead in. Sometimes sometimes it can be 20 to 30 seconds, and that's the joke, and then you're on to the next one. So I'd say that's one of them. I know I was thinking about when we first talked. That was maybe 6-7 months ago, and it was, well, how do I want to say this? Not all years are created equal, I guess. Right? So like I've been in it maybe 3 or 4 months longer than you guys have, but you guys have been hustling. I've kept a pretty consistent cadence, and I remember talking about it, and we were having that discussion of what is the best way to progress and what's the best way to do that, and a lot of people will say you have to be on stage, and at the time I think we all kind of agreed that if you're doing it once a month but you're writing every day and you're practicing and getting up once a week, then you're still going to progress. What I found now a year in is I need more than I wish I had more than once a week, because at this point I have more things I would like to try and work through than I have time on stage. So that's a tougher one to learn, to go, I could be further along or than maybe I am, but you gotta work with what you have, I guess. So I see you guys and I'm happy for you, but I hate you because you're really out there hustling.
You're doing a lot of book shows yourself. I see you. I see you on. I feel like every other day I see you on a different flyer for somebody. I mean, you've been doing quite a bit.
Well, I don't know about that, Wayne. I appreciate it. I've done a couple. So it came in December. I did 2, and I have one coming up this week.
Where are you going to be this week?
I'm going to the Non-King down in Hudson, New Hampshire.
Oh yeah, with Nick Powell.
Yeah, with Nick Powell.
Yeah, the Non-Kings of Comedy.
Yes, exactly. So
great name, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm excited for that one. This will be the second show I've done with Nick and kind of that crew. So shout out to Nick because he holds it down for me. He's reached out to me directly twice now, and of course I jumped at the opportunity. But I would say now in a year I've had, this will be my 4th booked show. So. If a year ago I would have told you I'm thrilled with that, and I have been. And you asked about what I've learned. I've in a year I've gained some perspective to say, all right, in the next 52 weeks, what can I expect out of that? So if I had 3 in the calendar year of 23 and 1 so far in 2024, I need to pick up the pace a little bit if I want to get to where I'm actually hoping to get to.
Well, now let me ask you this, because I know that you live in Manchester, because I like to watch you through your windows. And do you only go to Manchester mics for time reasons with work, or is it a convenience factor? Like, could I convince you to travel a little bit for something a little bit more worthwhile?
I would travel. I do it out of mostly convenience, and again, I could push it. I guess in part I choose not to because I know myself and like I could go off the rails with this thing if I allowed myself. And so that's part of it. I'm keeping myself reined in a little bit, but I've been to the safe. I've been to. I mean, that's kind of it outside of Manchester. But I would go.
You've done the point, right?
I did the
Hey,
point. Yep. Thank you. It's late on a Friday. I'm like, I know there's another one, but I mean, I absolutely. I would be. I feel like I have to plan it in advance because just the age of my kids. Like I try not to mess with that, and it's just so easy to go. All right, they're out, and now I have 15 minutes to get to where I need to be, and I can make it.
It's true. That is very nice.
Yeah, and I because again, otherwise I feel like I'm skirting my responsibilities a little bit, and this is self-imposed. You know, like if I were to talk to my wife about it, she would be supportive of it. But again, I try and keep it on the rails for my regular life as much as possible while pursuing this to the best of my ability. You know, with that kind of once a week.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, that I brought it up because we get confined to once a week bricks of time too. Like we try to do 2+ if we can, but there are just some weeks like my whole family was sick for 3 straight fucking weeks. So then you got to slowly get back into it. And I only did once a week the last few weeks, so I do feel it. But what I would say if someone asks like, what's the number one thing you learned over the year? It's been to be very selective on open mics as far as for like if I'm trying to get something out of them. If I'm trying to work on material, there are like at least 4, 5, or 6 mics now that draw probably more than this, but just that I go to that draw real audiences consistently. And I'm not throwing down Strange Brew because they get real audiences every once in a while too that are fantastic, that really kill it, and those are worth going to every percent of the time. But you've been to the point, you see that they get an audience almost every time. There's Off Cabot. Have you ever done that one?
I haven't.
So that one's incredible. You should definitely do that one because that's not too bad of a drive
Looks,
for you.
I didn't realize it was a mic until someone told me, just based on even people's stories casually.
Yeah.
It presents
beautiful.
you know, a little bit more professionally, I guess.
Yeah, it's a real comedy club. So they have like, it's a real stage with a real. You feel like you're on like the belly room of like the Comedy Store, like that smaller, intimate. But it's a real. But they have real people come in, and it fills up every time with real customers. They record your set and send it to you, and you get nice lit. It's great. So those are like once a month on Thursdays, and then I've been going to one in Biddeford, Mill Comedy. They're a comedy mill, sorry, and they do that at Mulligan's in Biddeford. And I've gone 2 weeks in a row, and they've had a packed room 2 weeks in a row. So my whole point to all this is that I've been able to iron out the ones that you go to. And feel like you're getting 5 weeks of mics in one because you're going to get a real crowd to push your material into the direction you want to go. Because let's be honest, if we go to a night and it's only comics in front of us and we're trying to figure this out and they're barely paying attention, you throw away a lot of good shit. Like I've definitely thrown away complete bits that I'm like, they didn't even look at me while I was doing this one. And then, when you go to a real crowd, sometimes you get surprised at the stuff that hits, at the right time, and little words you can take out to massage it. It's like you get a real feel for it. So I'm not giving you advice or anything, but that would be the number one thing that I would tell anybody just starting out is there's sometimes mics that are a complete fucking waste of your time.
Well, I hear you, man. And as much as I have had great experiences at 603, I know you guys have been there a handful of times, and you guys were, 2 of maybe 6 that showed up when I was lucky enough to guest host there. So you're not wrong, right? It's tough to go to a mic and go, this is my one shot for the week, and it's six people who are not listening. So that can be tough. But again, like if I wouldn't make it a regular thing, but if this Biddeford thing is legit, like that's close enough where I would want 2 weeks in advance to plan and mentally prepare for it. But I'm not opposed to it.
Here's a offer I'll give you because I will give it to anybody who I don't think is going to murder me inside of my own car. And that is I will pick you up at the Portsmouth Park and Ride like I did to beautiful Justin George this week. and we can drive up together, and I can drive you right back down because I live like 5 minutes from that park and ride. So it'll make it a nice, easy Wednesday night. The sign up's 7:30. You get plenty of time to get there. So anytime you want to do that, I'll take you there.
I will take it. I will take you up on that for sure. We can chat offline, but that sounds terrific. Because again, as comfortable as it is as Strange Brew, and like you said, you can have some good nights there. Wayne, last 2 or 3 times ago, you and I had maybe the best room I had been in. But you're right, Anthony. It's you get in there, and if you're trying to I didn't go this week because I have this show coming up, and everybody in that room has heard every single joke that I'm going to tell. So it's almost better for me to do it in the mirror or in the car to prep than to tell it to a room full of people who are maybe going to give you a chuckle out of respect or support, but no laughter, and only because they've all heard it before. So that's that's part of what this is about too. And when I say not all years are created equal, when I refer to you guys, that's what I meant. Like, you guys have this growing network that you've created. So I will absolutely take you up on that. Biddeford, let's do it.
Woo. I was just talking to Anthony about this. I went to a mic the other night that was all comics. It almost felt like one comic would go up, walk off stage, hand the mic, walk out the door. The next one would go sit down. The one after that would go hand the mic off, walk out the door. The next one would go sit down. And then about halfway through, half the comics were in the back talking. And by the time, the second half of the comics were up, there was like 6 comics listening. And I wondered to myself, would I have been better off sitting in my basement recording myself doing a 10-minute set 6 times than sitting there for an hour and listening back and going, I was a little too wordy on this, or I was a little too whatever on that.
Yeah, but this is the thing. That's kind of like saying, would it be better off if I beat off into a dead raccoon than into a pile of trash? And you're like, probably, but I don't think you should do either one of those things. You should probably just.
You say that, but I've recorded myself. Like I've said, I drive around for work all the time, so I'll record myself while I'm driving. If I have a long drive, I'll hit record and I'll just do it, and then I'll listen back and I'm like, fuck, I sound like an idiot at this point, and I change it like in the moment. And those are things that people don't see, that type of stuff. So yeah, I mean, it might seem lonely, like playing like a solo board game. It might seem lonely, but it could be really beneficial to, take that time to yourself and just figure it out without other people.
I'd like my advice to stand separate from Wayne's advice. my advice was, hey, go to places where there's a ton of audience that will give you feedback on it, and you'll have a good time.
That's
Wayne's
not always
like,
an option,
go into
though.
your basement.
That's not always an option for everybody, though.
Well, I mean, you're pretty, being where you are, Anthony, right there on the seacoast. I mean, you guys have some pretty good access. And again, I guess part of it for me is wrapping my brain around a 7:30 list, meaning I have to be out of the house by 6 o'clock or 6:30.
Yep.
Versus, even if it's 8:20 and I'm running out the door, I can still make it.
It's true. And that's to Wayne's point.
But again, they say you can't live in your comfort zone. That's where, you end up stalling out. And it's a fair point, because that's part of it. I know that it's going to be there for me. And you have to mix it up a little bit, even if, again, I hear myself saying these things, and it's like, you can leave the house at 6:30. It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of my point. I'm 20 minutes from the nearest highway. So if I was to go to Biddeford, which I really want to one day, and I am going to make it happen, but if I was to go to Biddeford, I get home at 6 o'clock, so I'd have to literally pick my son up, drop him off while the car's running, get in, and leave.
Right.
Yeah, but
that's tough. It's not tough because I don't see my son for a night, because all of us could use that. It's tough putting that burden on your spouse to say, hey, I don't know what kind of a mood he's in, but here you go, have a fucking wonderful night.
Right.
Yeah, but listen, that was more like I gave 4 examples because we're only going once a week. So you got to make one of those days during the week work. So if for 1 week you can't destroy your kid's life by leaving him alone on Wednesday, which I guess, That's fine. Then Thursday, you got Laugh Boston. That's a real crowd every time, and that's a 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock or whatever list. So get down there.
We'll go a little off topic here, but Anthony, did you watch the video I sent you today from Laugh Boston last night?
Oh yeah, that kid there that was doing his thing.
Did you see the second video I sent, the full version of it?
Yeah, so I can't watch. That's like watching someone cut someone's head off. Like I can't watch that. Like you send me cringe comedy sometimes, and you're like,
So,
look how
for the listening,
No, you didn't watch it.
Wayne, what? This is what was someone. This is cringe comedy.
No. Well, so yes, the first video was.
I
But
didn't watch
Anthony obviously didn't watch the second one.
Well, stop bombarding me, TikToker.
So there's this person on Facebook that I find absolutely obnoxious. I won't go any further than that. I just find him super obnoxious.
You're gonna make this so fucking obvious that it's him, by the way, because he just posted this fucking thing, and it's obviously he's the most annoying person in the entire world.
Well, one, he doesn't listen to this, and two, I don't give a fuck. I'm just not gonna dox him.
You say that, but if a 6-year-old was cornering you, I'd put some money on the 6-year-old. So you better be fucking careful.
I don't care. I find him obnoxious. He probably finds me obnoxious too. I really don't care. But the thing is, I watched this video. I was like, oh, okay. He went to Laugh Boston last night, and I watched it. And I was like, I really didn't really care for it. But I was curious about what this guy had because he talks a big game. So I found that he posted the full video of last night. And right after the initial video that I watched ended, on the full video, you hear somebody in the background go, fuck this comedy club. And the camera pans over, and there's this guy with I'm assuming his girlfriend, like pushing him out the door. He's like, fuck you all, fuck this comedy club, fuck you guys, I fucking hate you, like all this shit. He throws his drink down on the ground, he's getting pushed out of the place. I was like, holy shit, that was amazing. So it was definitely worth my my investigative measures.
Yeah, it was.
Huh?
You should have said that. You should have been like, hey, you don't have, because you said here's the full version of the video, and I'm like, why would I want to watch? And it's
definitely worth a watch. I said it's definitely worth a watch. You've known me for 15 years. If I tell you to watch something, stop what you're doing.
It could be
I'm about to ruin.
It could either be a interesting video of a comedy club problem, or it could be fucking Weird Al singing to a ham sandwich, and you're like, Weird Al, and those aren't good.
All right. All I'm gonna say is everything you send me, I watch because I'm a good friend. Dan.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was go back and watch it. It was worth a watch.
You're
I'll send it to you too,
this is where you're at, Wayne. I'm a selective guy. I've always been a selective guy forever. Like even in my comedy, I start off really small bits and I build on top of them. You are the when someone says like if you ask 1,000 women out and one of them says yes, then spread your seed, baby. That's the Wayne Russell style. You're gonna give me 1 million videos and 2 of them are gonna be good. And they're going to be so good. They're going to be so good. I'm going to want to cuddle with them afterwards. That's how good they are. But the rest of them are what we talked about earlier: dumpster slam pigs, and that's what you're giving me here. And I need better.
Are selective. You just always select cunty.
I do have a governor on cunt on my motor.
Just so YouTube knows, that's the first cunt in like 6 episodes.
Hey!
All right.
Hopefully we won't get blacklisted anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Only if I say cunt on my cunting cunts. What was my favorite heckler
Seems
response?
like my job.
Louis C.K. had a heckler I think he did it in a show. It was on the Louis show, and it was at like the Comedy Cellar. So this is not real or anything. But he said, I hate the doctor who's a cunt for allowing your cunt mother to let you fall out of that cunt. Something in that nature where he said cunt 8 times into it. And it was so good. It really was like the first porno magazine I saw for the word cunt. You know what I mean? Like I was like, oh my God, that's beautiful.
I didn't even know they could do it like that.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, that was just to piss Wayne off because of the...
Have you been out to... Did you guys go out to this Mike in Seabrook? This newer Mike?
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that.
That was really good. So that's Tommy Wires, who was on the show a while back. Mr. Rue, Sean Ruiz,
Friend of the program.
Jay Gillespie. What's that?
Friend of the program.
Yes. So they do it really cool. So it's a semi-booked open mic,
Mm-hmm.
and they do it with a wheel. So it's not like hey, you're going to go on 3rd or you're going to go on 10th. They have a wheel, so they have the host, whoever's hosting will go up, he'll do whatever. Then he'll spin the wheel, whoever comes up goes up. When they're done, they spin the wheel, then the next person. So it kind of forces all the comics to stand there, or to sit there rather,
Sure.
and pay attention, which is really nice. And it also, I don't know about you, Anthony, but I felt it kind of exciting to, like, oh shit, I'm up now. Like,
Right.
you're not sitting there mentally preparing, going, all right, I have 2 more people, all right, I have 1 more person. You're just like, oh fuck, it's now. So
I hated that, but that was it's the worst feeling. But it's essential. That's why it's good, because they do that. They also tell the comics to, like, hey, we're going to do a group photo afterwards, so stick around. And those 2 things make it so the comics are there. So I like it. Of course, it'd be better if you knew when you were going up and you have all that selfishly. But for the sake of the mic, that's a way better way of doing it. Because, you know, I mean, as much as I really, it's a double-edged sword, because I don't give a shit about the comedians have heard these jokes 10 times to laugh at it, and they don't give a shit about the stuff I'm saying, obviously, because they've heard it 10 times. But so there's that level of it. But just getting a table filled, I think, makes it contagious for the other tables to come closer and fill in of the real people that go there, because the time that we went, drew a real crowd pretty good. You know, it's a...
And they've been getting better. I've been watching the pictures, and they seem to be getting like a real following there, which is pretty nice.
Yeah, and again, passionate hosts with those 2, which is like, you know, 3 hosts. Oh yeah, Jay. So it's like, you know, 90% of the battles to have that, and they got 3 really good ones. So.
And that's Mondays.
That's Mondays, yeah.
All right,
Seabrook's
so
10 minutes from me too.
So
So
if
how about that?
we're getting me out of my comfort zone on this episode, then we got Biddeford on the list. Then, and I'll have to get Tommy's contact information there.
I'll send it to you.
Because what, he's probably a couple weeks out,
Yeah, probably.
right?
They usually have spots they have. They're just starting, so I'm sure you can get on.
I don't know. They've been
I'm a
filling
couple
up.
weeks out. I'll reach out and say, what are you doing in 2 weeks?
I love that.
Yeah. Shoot me a text after. I'll send you his info.
Awesome.
I'll go to that if he's going to that. So that'd be good too.
Yeah, we should all do it together.
Nice.
Look at that. We're making so many plans on this thing. Let's hope that the drugs in my brain don't strangle the thoughts out of my mind as I sleep.
So this segues nicely for me, because I'm trying to ride your coattails, you guys. So that's 1. Biddeford will be 2. But I don't know. I'm trying to maybe get out to the Seacoast for you guys this weekend, because Mike Controbin's got you guys
Oh,
on
in Portsmouth.
in
Yep.
Portsmouth. Because you guys have all these real relationships now with people who book shows, and all of a sudden you guys, like, dominoes are falling for you guys.
Yeah, so Mike was. This is another one you'll have to go to, because this is the roadmap to Mike Trobus. Wayne thought it would be virtually hand jobbing him for 6 months, but it turns out he had another better way to do it. So Mike has an open mic now that he does once a month. Wayne.
Yep, first Monday of every month at 19 Carter in Berlin, Massachusetts, which might be a little bit of a hike for you. It's about 35 minutes from me, so it's probably about an hour or 45 minutes from you. But
I
it's
drive
in,
there from Kittery. No excuses.
Yeah.
Fair.
But it's a pre-book, so you don't really have to rush. You can get there like right at time, or if you just let them know, like, hey, maybe a few minutes late, you can go later. But it's basically like an old church that they turned into like a community center.
Yep.
So we went because it's, we had Mike Controbis coming on the podcast. And in that conversation, I found out about that mic. So I said, hey, can me and Anthony come? And he's like, yeah, absolutely. So we ended up going there, and I wasn't expecting much, because it's a first open mic in a community center, but he filled that friggin' place. It was like,
I use that as my.
it had to been like 70% real crowd, right?
Yeah, well, 90% I would say, because I mean, the one girl brought a bunch of people. So what do you consider
It's
those?
still
like,
a real crowd. They stayed the whole time.
yeah, it's like half the people. It's like when a vampire can walk during the day. That's what that crowd was like. But they daywalkers, they were. But Mike was up front and he said on our podcast, he's like, I'm literally only doing this to find more people for my shows because I have too many of the same people going. So the first step is you do that open mic, and then he will invite you to a showcase that he's been booking. He'll take tape for that book too at Gibbs Garage in Portsmouth. So that's kind of the roadmap he gave us. That's the number one thing when you start comedy. You're like, there's no roadmap. I might just go waste my time every week when I'm trying to get somewhere to nowhere. And this is one of the rare circumstances that a booker's like, here's how you get on my show if you want to get on it. So that's a good one. So that's where I'd start. And obviously come to the show if you can.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because we'll introduce you to him. But.
Well, I'm going to try. Again, it's Sunday, so some flexibility there. But again, if it's going to be once a month, then, I can plan out for like a Monday in May. And make something like that happen. Because, again, this is something we kind of touched on, I think, a little bit last time was, all right, if you feel like you've got whatever your minutes are, 10 to 15 or, maybe more if you're hustling, how do you land that next gig? And, like, we were talking about just, DMing people, but, again, the old-fashioned way is sometimes the way it's going to work best. So
the old-fashioned way works. Part of the issue, like in our episode with Mike, he said we're all mostly middle-aged white men. How do you stand out? It's tough. Dan, I think you stand out because you have your hip-hop background. Like that is something you don't see a lot of me doing. And the way you deliver it is so white, it's amazing. And I think that's a nice hook for you.
Well, it's funny because I appreciate that. Thank you. And, I've been, there's books out there, you do some reading and some research and things. And a common thread is authenticity. So I am a basic white guy, but I also really listen to a lot of hip hop. I'm a real hip hop guy. So it is kind of a unique combination in that way to be able to, it's funny. Like I try and work it in to everyday conversation and see what you can kind of get away with, and people will give you a look like, what, what did he say? But so I appreciate that, and again, it's you kind of have to get in front of different sets of eyes too in order to be seen. But yes, it is tough to be generic white guy number 50. So
I have a question on that with your with your hip hop material. So on some of the book shows that you've done, have you had a crowd that skewed older that you ever got nervous? You're like, oh, they might understand the point here, but they may not find it as funny because they don't know who I'm referencing. They just know that I'm referencing hip hop.
Yes and no. So I always worry because it's still Southern New Hampshire, Massachusetts, right? So just based on demographics, it's not, you know what you're dealing with. So, but what I've found, and I've had some positive feedback, is you don't need to be able to go, that was this rapper from this song, and that's what he's referencing. If you are able to deliver it, you get the gist of it, right? Like, it rhymes at the end typically, which helps, right? And you kind of have to lead a horse to water a little bit too. You can't necessarily open with it unless it's, I see some ladies tonight that should be having my baby, like something that everybody really kind of resonates with. And I've found some of the more obscure stuff that I know the audience doesn't know where it is, it still works because, again, you set them up for that. And then if it rhymes at the end, they go, oh, that's what he's doing here. So it's, again, sometimes it's not going to work. Don't get me wrong. But for the most part, like I'm kind of more at ease with it now. And I'm leaning into it more than I was a few months ago because I'm more comfortable with that fact where I go, they don't need to know that it was this person, this song. And, they're going to get the gist of what's happening.
Yeah, I remember I said this to you in person, but for the sake of the funny, we were at Strange Brew, and for the first 17 times I saw you, I was like, don't know why he likes rap so much. I wonder what that origin story was. And then you had a joke and you were like, so I played basketball most of my life. And I was like, there it is.
It's funny. Yes, that has a lot to do with it. Also, like I like all music. It's just not, when you talk about Dave Matthews Band as a 40-year-old white guy, it's not as funny. And that's another generic example. But I don't know. I like my dad. It was like 60s Motown and soul music growing up. So like I grew up on all of that. And so when I started listening to my own music, it was our Jammin' 94.5.
Have you thought about just getting like many different genres? Like if you have like a bunch of blue hairs, you just start doing like hymns. Be like, Christ has died. Christ has risen. Christ will come again.
Well, it's funny. It's funny.
Give you jism.
I did walk around all Sunday going, "He has risen." But for me, for whatever reason, if I can hear it, I can remember it a lot of the time. Whether it's mostly lyrics, right? I would listen to music, so I know that they're in there. That stuff is in there for that crowd. If it's going to be, classic rock, Creedence, or some of this stuff, it's up there. I just, again, the joke isn't there, right? It's not, oh, you're another guy who likes Fortunate Son. Great. But it's helpful because it's helpful when I've had the opportunity to go off the cuff where, it hasn't happened a ton, but I know that I have some of this stuff just rattling around up there. And I like I said, it's like, it drives my wife crazy because I'll hear something and I'll go, this is what it makes me think of, and I'll say it, and I'm the only one who gets it 90% of the time. So I'm hoping that opportunity presents itself, and then I'm able to then go, okay, they kind of set me up for this, and I stumbled through it with whatever it ended up being. Can I lean into Anthony worked at the grocery store?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's racist. My dad was... So my whole life, my dad listened to blues music.
Okay.
That's the only thing he listened to. And I worked at a store. This has happened recently. And at my store, one of the guys there used to be a rapper. Is a rapper. Is totally a rapper. Yeah. I don't say why he used to. Definitely is. Yeah, he's...
Once.
Yeah, once. You can't, exactly. You're once, you're always it. Exactly.
Yeah.
This guy spits. And he plays the Spotify of his songs in the background of the store all the time. And so anyways, my dad came in and he's like, let me show you real music, and turned on the blues. And this rapper had not heard the blues in full before. And he was like, huh, these guys are pussies. That was his biggest takeaway. And I never thought about that before because I heard it when I was 3. And I'm like, yeah, Dad, these guys are pussies. Fuck you. What are you doing?
Something I used to do when my wife and I first started dating, when we'd be out and about, I'd hear a song on the radio, and I would just say like a lyric to her, and then wait for her to respond, and then whatever the lyric was, I'd reply back with the lyric, and she got so confused. I did that for 2 years before she finally lost. She's like, what the fuck is this? So what are we doing? And I was like, oh, every time I do that, I'm just repeating the lyrics that are going through the radio. And I don't know, it was fun for me. She fucking hated it. It was fun for me.
And she's never found him funny since.
Never.
Not one time.
I ran a joke by her tonight, and I got the no. No.
Isn't that the fucking worst? Because like sometimes our wives, I'll have like, because you get the spontaneous joke. Let's call it Jesus jism. We should call it that. I mean, that's really what it is, because it's random and it's gooey and nice. Is when you get that
Jism.
Yeah, jism. When you get that nice bit idea, it starts in the center of your face. When you get that Holy Spirit come in the face, and you get that joke idea.
Rapidly.
Yep. And your wife happens to be in the room and is like, ew. But then you say it, and she's like, I don't like that. But you know it's good. It's hard not to hit him. How do you handle that?
I just, you know, you got to keep it in check, Anthony. I hear you, though.
I only got fucking so many dogs I can kick.
Jesus Christ. Oh my God.
Ugh.
I'm having a good one. I'm just, I'm hot tonight.
You know, sometimes if you get that response, maybe you're on the right track.
That's what I'm saying.
Right?
Problem is I have an obese, what's the fucking name? King Charles Spaniel. And he's got rickety bones. You know, it just is what it is. Nothing I can do. Can't kick that one. Yeah,
How much?
gross.
You got any dogs?
Huh? Me?
Transitions.
Oh, yeah, I have one dog, yeah. Used to have two. But she didn't like my other jokes.
Holy shit, man! Like, god damn. Yeah, no shit. Wayne was so unfunny that. Finish the sentence. No. Goddamn, Wayne. He tried to tee up a transition there. Like, oh, Wayne, do you have a dog? You're like, yes. Don't get Oprah in here. She will slap you. You can't be interviewed for shit.
Can I mention something completely unrelated?
Yes, please.
Cats?
So you guys may have heard for have you heard about cats? So a couple of times Ben called me Dan Cronin, the legit comedian, and one time he almost didn't even bring me up because he was like looking around going, this guy's not here. And just the other week, Dan Cronin performed at McHugh's in Portsmouth, and they tagged me.
Ooh,
I saw that.
I didn't know what to do. I'm like, maybe I just show up on Saturday, but I ended up.
That would have been fantastic.
I should have, in hindsight, but I pussed out, I guess.
yeah, you have to do that.
Yeah, it was a missed opportunity, honestly, but.
It just happened to me, and I'll interject for a second and get right in just because it's on topic. Delusional Comedy, they're having a show at the Thirsty Robot on April 13th with Casey Crawford and Katie Coughlin opening, and Derek Ziba, Nick Taco. I mean, do I need to go on? That's a hell of a fucking lineup, everybody. But anyways, Delusional accidentally put my face on the flyer instead of Beautiful Derek's. And so I messaged them, and I was like, hey, that's not me, but that's awesome. And they were like, oh, okay, do you want to do the show too? I was like, oh! So I backdoored into that one. So you gotta take the back doors where you can.
I gotta reach out to them again, because you guys are coming to Stark Brewery, right, with them?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, hosting. Woo!
Very exciting. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Are the Delusional Comedy people going to be there?
They aren't. So this is... the reason why I'm hosting is I'm going to run the show that night, technically, because they can't be there because they have another show going on at the same night. So you're looking at, technically, I don't even know what to call myself that night, but I'm going to be...
You're the host.
I'm going to be... Shut up. I'm more than that. I'm the Charmeleon host, whatever that is. I'm not Charizard, but I am Charmeleon at least, and you're Charmandering me.
I'll be at that one because again, I have no excuses. It's Stark Brewery's 10 minutes down the road for me. So, but again, I was hoping to get some FaceTime with them because they're again It's weird to look around and go, all right, I know Katie and I know Nick and I know Derek a little bit. Like that's a lineup I feel like I could be on.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like they're circling back to Stark Brewery at least a little more frequently. And I know Anthony, you've performed there, and I've seen at least a couple of shows there now, and it's a great spot.
Oh, it's the best. I don't know.
The Delusional guys are really good. I think they like to give chances. You know what I mean? Like they like to go, all right, let's try this guy out. Which is
you sent
awesome,
your tape to them?
I did. I sent an older tape. It was maybe 3 minutes, and they responded. And then within 2 weeks, they said, "Hey, we had this opportunity, but it was in like Western Massachusetts, and I think because I told them Manchester, Southern New Hampshire, Northern Massachusetts, and I think they just maybe got confused, and I haven't heard since. But I have a newer tape, courtesy of Wayne, from I don't know the end of January, where we caught a hot one over at Strange Brew.
Oh yeah, that was a great night.
I saw that.
I'll probably do that again, send it over to them because they were very responsive, and it seemed like
they're honestly they're really great. Hit them up again and just say, hey, just wanted to follow up. Here's some new material or whatever, a new tape, whatever.
They are going to be at the because the Dirty Birds are performing at the 13th. It is, trust me, it's going to be a bitch of a drive for me to do this, but it's in Fitchburg. So they are going to be there the 13th. Obviously, if you went to that one, I can introduce you to them and stuff like that. They're great guys. And you can see the Dirty Birds.
I'm not gonna make it to Fitchburg. I appreciate that.
I feel you. I wish they
Even
put
though
me
they're
on a
not
flyer.
coming to Stark in what is that, May?
Yeah, that's the
May
next one.
11th.
May 11th.
I'm still gonna go for sure. But no, I appreciate that too because again I was kind of like, what's the protocol? Should I I don't want to
Get 'em.
you don't want to alienate somebody by being a little overzealous, but I think you need to do some self promotion a little bit if you want to get
100%.
Yeah, we've interviewed like 3 or 4 bookers in a row. We did there for a minute, and I think consensusly, that's not a word, but I think they said altogether that I think once a month to once every 2 months seems to be a fair amount of time to reach out to people, right? Did anybody say?
It depended on the person, but I think you don't want to hound somebody. But stay in their mind. Like for instance, I won't name the booker, but there's one that I reached out and he was like, "Oh, I'm working on the first quarter. Hit me up in January." I hit him up in January. He's like, "I'm fully booked. Hit me up in the second quarter." I hit him up in the second quarter. And he's like, "Oh, I'm fully booked. Hit me up again." And I have a note in my phone. I'm going to hit him up again, and I'm going to hit him up again until he gives me a spot. But I think there is too much. You can do too much. Like you don't want to hit him up every week or whatever, but I think once every other month or once a month.
Yeah, it's been 2 months, so again, I think
It's time.
it's time, and it's nice to hear from you guys because again, you don't know. You get 2 DMs back and forth with a picture of 2 birds, So like, you really
Dude, honestly,
they know what you're even kind of getting into.
They are so fantastic. They take all of the I don't know how to say it, like the anxiety out of it. You know what I mean? Like they're so nice. They reply back and they're like so positive and so nice about it. And it like takes it all away.
Yeah, and a lot of the opener sets and all that kind of stuff are like 10 to 15 minutes is the time frame, and you know how much better that is than because when you first start doing shows, you're like, I'm gonna start, my mouth voices are gonna come out, and they're gonna cease to come out at 10 minutes on the dot, and if I go 1 millisecond over, I want you to kill me and in front of everybody with the fucking shicking. But when someone says 10 to 15 when you're first starting out, and you know that you can just kind of breathe out and enjoy the show, that you're not going to get lit and all of that kind of stuff, unless you're an asshole and you can do like 25 minutes. That's a good run. I like that they do that.
That's a good point too, and it's funny because for the first time here, preparing for this show that I have with Nick Powell and them on Thursday, the 11th, Non-King, Hudson, New Hampshire.
Of April.
Thank you. I have, it's 10 minutes, right? Everybody's doing 10 minutes. It's showcase style, and I'm having to actively trim down and make sure that I stay within that. And it's kind of a nice feeling. And again, this goes back to not all years are created equal, but to go, all right, I have 15 minutes at least, and I got to get down to 10. So it's a different exercise, and it's in some ways it's kind of nice to go, all right, well, if I'm struggling to get down to 10 minutes, you're right. Like, it'd be nice to go, hey, here's 10 to 15, and then even if you end up at 13 and change, you're not going, man, where do I cut? And I'm finding like, all right, and I'm sure you guys have experienced this too, where you can lose a whole joke, or you can lose smaller bits of 2 jokes. There's a lot of wiggle room that you can, there's a lot of flexibility that you can kind of work with. So, 15. It's weird to go. Yeah, 15 minutes would be a nice little extra runway to have, and that's something I've learned in the last 6 months to a year is that hey, I have 15 minutes, and probably a little bit more. Maybe it gets a little watered down, but
No, I bet you have more. So I mean, obviously, I know you've done full packed rooms and stuff like that, but there's, to me, a minute and a half. I think you gain by a 10-minute set in front of a very good audience. That's the data that I've put together in my
okay.
stupid head.
You're saying in a real room with a good crowd, for every 10 minutes, you can add a minute and a half just based on pauses for laughter and
That's where it's going to end up. Yeah, exactly. So you do have to trim a little bit. That's what happened to me exactly. I had because I was trying to thread the needle. I had something, I'm like, this is 10 exact minutes. And when I did that delusional show, I ended up being like 11 and a half minutes. I was like, wow, that was, because, there was a lot of areas that I went that I didn't plan to go because of the laughter. Like, there was one joke that I did because I have a joke that's like, is anybody here a child of an immigrant? And the room is obviously all white, which is funny. But my brother happened to be there and he clapped. And I'm like, there's one. And he's my brother. And that was like a 30-second draw out thing that was awesome and hilarious. But, you're going to have or not have. But you have more opportunity to do that because when the place is rolling, you're kind of looking for shit to keep it going. So, yeah, that's my math. I think 10 minutes, you get a good crowd, buffer a minute and a half in there.
I like that ratio because, again, it's hard to account for because you're right. You're going, all right, when I do it, in Wayne's murdering basement here all by myself, it's 10 minutes on the nose. And even if you work in your mind I've heard people laugh at this point, so I know I'm going to give myself a tick and then keep going, it's not the same. So I'm going to try to be a little more scientific about it now just to see what that ratio is. But I feel like a minute and a half for every 10 minutes is probably pretty accurate for the most part.
And the good thing about it, too, is if you're trying to get to, like, let's say that you overshoot that, and meaning that the minute and a half isn't what it is, it's really only half of the 30 seconds. And now you're a minute short on your set. Well, then you don't see the light, so you can throw another joke in there. We can always add to it, but you don't want to be the person that's like, oh, man, this is a 4-minute joke, and I'm starting when the light comes on, and then you absolutely blast through the light because of not having that control or putting the crowd into it. So I do think that that's a good, worthwhile thing to do. But I'm also anxious about the worst thing you could be is a burden. That's my motto in life. God damn, don't be a burden. Pick up your shit, all that stuff.
Yeah, you don't want to be up on stage and then have all the other comics be like, get the fuck off the stage. What are you doing?
I don't know how people do that because you gotta know that we're doing that. Because every time in the world someone's run the light, I've been fucking like everybody in the room's like, all right, we meet him in the parking lot to kill him. Do we meet him at his house to kill him? Like we follow him.
Get your shots ready. So when I did the hosting class with Mike Katrobis, we did the showcase after. Yeah, we did the showcase after. There was one comic. He went so far over the time limit. Mike literally was like flashing the light. So if you go too far over, Mike will take the light and flash it in your eye, in your pupils. Like, get the fuck off the stage. And the guy, like, you could see it hitting his eyes, and he's like, I'm telling jokes. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. Finally, he sees Mike start to walk up toward the stage. He goes, all right, I'm getting kicked off. This is it. I'm done. And he puts the mic in and he walks up. I was like, dude, you were like 8 minutes at a 5-minute set. Like, what are you doing?
Hey, you know what this guy is? This is my biggest problem with this. This is the guy who doesn't mind being a fucking burden. This is the guy that when you're going to like a grocery store or something like that and you're waiting for a card to pull out or something, he's pulling in. He's going to take it. He's stealing it from you. You're going in there. You're like, it's the last jar of pickles and you're a 95-year-old lady. That guy's taking it. He's like, I don't give a fuck. His hat's backwards, not protecting him from the sun at all. There's no way it is. He's not using a bill. He doesn't know that's why the hat's there. He does it to look like a piece of shit. That's what the people are, and I really consciously try not to be like them. So that means you don't run the light. That means you show up. I did learn this one thing I can give you advice on for when you go to book shows is there's too early to show up. That's for sure. I was like setting up chairs at one of the shows in the beginning of it, like way earlier than anybody else, and it causes confusion. It does. So
I was too early in Milford. I did a show for Delusional on Monday down in Milford, Mass. at Craft Roots Brewing, and it just so happened, I'm a outside sales guy. My territory is in Milford. Craft Roots was in Milford, and I said to my my boss, I was like, "Hey, I got to be down here anyways. Can I just go make some calls and end the day down there?" I happened to get a call from a customer saying, "Come see me," so it all worked out. So a little after 5:00, I roll in. Show didn't start till 6:30. I was there alone for like 45 minutes.
I've learned that about New England comics. We are on the dot on time. I fucking
1,000%.
So because this is the thing to me. I look at not the show start. I look at the doors open time, and I want to be a little bit before that for sure, because you want to be there before the doors open and people start coming in. And then I realize, no, you don't. No one wants you there early. It doesn't matter. Be there for showtime, because every single other comic showed up like right at showtime, and it didn't matter. And I was there. I did work up a nice relationship with the bartender and the showrunner, and that is something that is not worth doing either, because it didn't get me anything.
This is part of the open mic experience, though, where you go, all right, there's going to be 30 people at Strange Brew every Thursday. So if it starts at 9 and I'm not there by 7:55, I don't go on till midnight. So, I mean, that's a good transition to be feeling, though, to go, all right, well, this is what a real show feels like. You show up when they say it, you show up at an open mic at the time the open mic starts, and all of a sudden you're just an audience member. So,
show up 15 minutes before door opens or whatever.
That's perfect.
Or when door opens 15 minutes before the show starts, and you should be fine, I think.
I'm just a big treat it like a job when you get a show like that thing, because one, they're fucking paying you. If you are going there and treating it like an open mic, which I've seen, then you're not going to get other gigs, and you deserve to get fired, and all that comes to play with that. I don't know if you can even fire anybody anymore. I'm pretty sure they own your company if you fire them.
No, but that's a very good piece of advice to go, this, again, you can dick around at an open mic, but, like, you're right. That's my approach too, Anthony. Like, not only am I there for that show and that crowd, but in comedy, it feels like you're only as good as your last show sometimes. So part of that is the professionalism that you show up with. So, don't get hammered beforehand. Don't show up.
Hey.
Afterwards. But that's a good piece of advice, right? If you handle it professionally, I think that's an important thing to remember.
Well, there's for all that we do normally in comedy, there's no responsibility to what we're saying. It doesn't matter. It's not for anybody. This is just for us, and most of the time it is. And the shows are for us, obviously, too. We're doing it for our own beautiful ego. But there is, think about what it takes for you to go to see a show, and like what you have to do for your kids, and what you got to do to, like, I got to get a babysitter. I got to do that whole fucking thing whenever I go out to it. And so those people, a lot of them might be doing that same thing to come see you. So I think you have to, it's your responsibility to give your material whatever chance it has to succeed, to give them the laughs that they need. And that might mean shit like showing up early and making sure that you're fucking prepared, and you're not showing up on time, right on the dot and a little disheveled, and you go up and you forget a bit or something. So I think that's it too. I mean, don't be you know what kind of fucking privilege that it should feel to us as we are right now, a year in, that we're gonna go to make somebody's night out. Like that's fucking. If you told, that's the one thing. If you told us a year ago, I wouldn't believe you that somebody would do that.
Well, and the attitude you want to remember because again, I think you guys are in a similar path where 5 years from now you'll still be doing this, and you want to kind of keep that appreciation to go, this is still people coming out and spending money and making arrangements, and you should treat them with respect, and respect is doing your job and doing it well. So
that is something I said to Anthony the other day. Was like, I mean, it's a little different for him because he was in a band, but it's kind of amazing to think now, like, we're performers, regardless of how much we get paid or if we do a free show or whatever, we go to some of these shows where people are going out for entertainment and we're the ones providing it. And you want those people to feel like their night out wasn't wasted. It's not, I mean, it is for our ego, because it does feel good to go out there and get laughs and be like, hey, I was on that stage telling jokes and people laughed at me. But at the same time, you're like, these people are spending their hard-earned money to come out and buy some food, buy some drinks, and pay a babysitter and have a good time, and that lies on our shoulders, and that's kind of an interesting feeling that I've never felt before.
Yeah, you have to get that completely out of your head when you're thinking about the material side of it. Like, you don't want to ever be like, I have to change for this, or because then you're going to fuck up your set. Or like,
I didn't say that at all.
I didn't say that. This is a tangent. You defensive little bitch. Is your last name Mrs. Eugenio or what? God damn.
Wow. This is going to be a fun edit this week.
I don't know. Where was I talking about? I don't know. You just fucked me so fucking stupidly in my brain. I don't even know where we were going.
You were
Take
making
a lesson, bud.
Like a great point.
The professionalism is important, but once you're on stage, your material is you can't be thinking about the people who got babysitters while you're trying to, in Wayne's case, talk about your dick.
Well, that wasn't my point. My point was, we're just like, you do your material, but you do it to the best of your ability. Like,
no, I agree. I'm saying that, yeah. But my point is, this is like a, you do that, but always keep in mind. So see how that's separate, you dumb piece of shit, and does not shit on your thing. So on the side as well, let me say ampersand. How many different versions of the word "and" do you want me to put in to know that it's not fully associated with your dumbass thought? Okay.
Spell ampersand.
I don't know. Jesus Christ.
In English.
Nice thing is, if you do it well, you check both boxes. You get the people have a good time, and you get your ego stroke, and everybody's happy.
I remember. This is my point. I had a point. Fucking asshole. My point was why I was saying that is because I think that someone who does a good job at this, and as props I'm going to give out to, is Scott Fatone. Let me explain why, because that might be, holy shit, how is he tailoring his stuff to the audience? And that's the thing, he's not. But he's giving himself full ability to let it succeed or not succeed. Like, he shows up early. He was talking to all the crowd in between our show. Like, he was getting a relationship with them basically before we went up.
Yeah, we'll give that.
Yeah, yep. He did all the things. Like, that's what I'm talking about. That's half of it. I mean, the other half is that there's a lot of jokes in there that aren't going to be for everybody, but I don't care. It's that part is subjective. And if you're keeping the audience only in your head during that part, you're going to write hacky shit. And the one thing you can't call his stuff is hacky, because it's fucking not. It's original and it's only to him. But I think he gives it all the success that it could get, and I like meaning chance to succeed. So I appreciates that, is what I'm saying. That's it. I was saying a nice thing.
Agreed. Shout out Scott Fatone. I agree, because I remember going, wow, I like some of this stuff, but this is not for everybody. And then to that same point, it doesn't, once you're off stage, it doesn't necessarily carry over. It's to see him interact. He does approach it in the right way. And, I think he's good. So again,
if he did that edgier stuff,
to my aunt's, a show where my aunt, my family are the main crowd members, but I hear what you're saying.
Well, this, my point too is that, like, if he had the edgier stuff that he has, and he was like showing up 10 minutes after the time that he was supposed to show up, and he was being a dick, and he was loud, and he was talking and all that, you're gonna be like, hey, what? Like, you can't be your persona off stage, on stage like that. You're gonna piss people off, and no one's gonna want to laugh at you. He doesn't do that. He's very awesome. And personable guy, shows up on time, and is professional. And then, you can say whatever you want on stage after that, because you earned it. Yeah, I'm rambling now, but that's my point. I love you, Scott. Wayne, this is your turn now, co-host.
I was waiting for Dan. I thought he was taking my place. So, no, I will say that about Scott. He doesn't give a flying fuck. He goes out and does his thing. One thing I love about Scott is he has like the voice, the look, the energy, and obviously like you don't want him to stray away from what he thinks is funny and the jokes that he writes, but it'd be interesting to see if he tried to tailor a little more towards the more common audience to see how well he did.
Nah.
I hear what you're saying, Wayne, because I've seen Scott a lot now, and I like his stuff. But what I felt like I was trying to say earlier, like if it's not authentic, then it's not going to work, you know. And if I'm sure he could, I'm sure he could. He's a talented guy, but you know, if that's authentic to him, you're better off, like you said, Anthony, swinging and missing with what you know is true to you than trying to tailor it to an audience.
It's the definition of hack. Like a hacky material, the stuff that makes you cringe. Like, ugh, that sounds like a writer. Like, I hate the sound. Like, you would never talk like that. Like, that style of comedy is done when you try to do that. When you try to
couldn't you change words to make it not so aggressive and still have the same feeling?
Yeah. But his stuff is like at its soul is coming on your face. It's not like you're not going to take a fucking word out and change that.
Yeah, no, 100%. But like, I think there are definitely ways. Fuck it, I'm not even going down the rabbit hole.
This sounds to me, and you and I have had this conversation offline about a solid piece of advice that you were given though about figure out how to work clean, and you're going to open some doors for yourself, even if that's not your instinct. It feels to me like that's maybe where you're.
Yeah, he's true. That is a good tangent. Like you finishing your thought, Wayne, because I think you don't have to be. I wouldn't have stopped. I think you were going in the right direction, which is you do have to know that if there's a room of 90-year-olds, that you got to switch up a couple things in order to make this go well. Mm-hmm. That's just how you fucking have to go. I'm completely with you, and I get that. What I mean is when your writing is different.
Yeah, the only reason I was stopping, I don't want to shit on anybody's parade because what we do is what we do. That's fine.
Yeah, you're right.
And I'm not trying to say that he should or should not do any particular thing. I'm just saying that in the terms of getting more shows or getting more visibility to getting to the point where you can get noticed more, you can always add that stuff back in the end. But is there a way he could have the same? I don't want to give any of his jokes away, but he has that joke about giving back his uniform and what he does to the bag of uniforms. Like, is there a way that he could say that without being so grotesque?
No, there isn't. That's the point. But the thing is there are only two. Sorry to cut you off. There are only two options here. They're either he gets the shows that will want that material, and goddamn right they do, or when he gets to the show, he has an audible to, maybe an audience is into that one day, and it's a younger crowd, or it's an older one and he changes. My beef, and I don't know if you're insinuating this, but if you are, let's fight, is that I don't want to write material with that in mind. I don't want to go like, oh, this is going to be, I got to change this in order to appeal to the most amount of mass. You got to write what you think is funny. That's the only thing you got to do. And then you got to make sure that you unload that weapon in the right area. But you're going to have a little dildo gun if you're writing just to appease.
That's not what I'm saying at all, because I had my 10-minute set, or let's say even my 5-minute set that I did at Berlin.
Yep.
Where I had all the jokes that I did that were pretty dirty and like very vulgar at one point, and I adjusted them to the point where they were more general public friendly, and I still had a fuck at the end. And I said to you, I was like, yeah, I purposely did it so I had one fuck at the end because that fuck meant a lot more, because I didn't swear for 4 minutes and 10 seconds, and then I went, fuck, and everyone was like, whoa.
Yep. Well, not to put you on the spot, but which one was more vulgar that you made less vulgar? I don't remember that.
I had a few jokes where I would say fuck and like all kinds of different language. I changed the language so there wasn't so many like fuck, shits, comes.
Oh, yeah. I know, that's tough, though, when you're talking about what he's doing to that laundry he's returning. I mean, that's a tough one. that's a tough one to thread the needle on.
Yeah, that's just the point I'm making, though. My point was, is there a way it could be toned down so it was just a little bit of user-friendly for him?
Yeah.
To give him more opportunity.
Yeah, if you don't fill a shot glass with cum,
he's going to be so awkward if he ever listens. He's going to be like, why are you talking about me so much?
We have a hard stop coming up, so you might have to get him on one of these episodes and finish this conversation.
Oh, yeah, our hard stop is right here, isn't it, Wayne? Yeah, well, I'm glad that we gave him his props, because, God damn it, I love it. Keep making me laugh. world. And now let's one more time, because we only got 2 minutes here, Wayne. Why don't we talk about the shows we have coming up and the shows that Dan has coming up, and then we'll say where to get to Dan, and then we'll drink Kool-Aid and die. Go.
Dan, you want to go first?
Sure. Again, we mentioned it before, but Hudson, New Hampshire, this Thursday, April the 11th, Non-King Restaurant, hosted by Nick Powell. Come through if you're in the area. DCB Joking on Instagram and in real life. And hopefully coming to a town near you soon.
He will. He's fucking awesome. He's coming to Mulligan's, motherfuckers. You heard him. He committed. He's pot committed to go to Biddeford now. So this weekend, which has already passed in the world of this podcast, and it's the future now. So hello, Anthony. Are you half pound heavier? Probably sad about it. So half pound heavier Anthony is going to already have been with Wayne at Gibbs Garage on Sunday, and that went well. It did, because if not, I'm not alive, then this podcast isn't released. But after that, I got April 13th, Thirsty Robot. Casey Crawford just won the Boston Comedy Festival, everybody. He's going to be headlining with Katie Coughlin's opening and Derek Seba and Nick Taco. So I'm going to do a guest spot on that. So please go to that, because that's going to be fucking awesome. And then afterwards, what else we got, Wayne? Just the May one after that?
Yeah, May 11th.
May 11th. Yeah, this is going to be a big one. This is Anthony's hosting here, and Wayne is opening for Casey Crawford. There's only one feature in there afterwards, Pat Lacey, who's fantastic. So what we're saying is we have a lot of responsibility to not suck here, and we're going to take it seriously like we talked about in this podcast. So please show up to it. And,
November 21st for me.
Yeah. January.
November 21st, Soho and Hudson.
Yeah, we do. We have one. I think January 15th. I got in Soho, Hudson too.
Yeah.
Remember, or 16th.
Nice.
So
Nice.
We'll just remember that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like that's so hard. Like I might be a girl by January. Like, I have no, could be so
Antonia.
much. All right, guys. It has been what we call a worthy step in the quest for laughs and soon to be queefs. Bye.
Today, we are armed and dangerous. Ain't too many can bang with us, but one that can, our beautiful Dan. Straight up weed, no angel dust.